Welcome back to REI Closers podcast. This is also all live on YouTube. This is a good one to watch because we're tuning this in on the iPad as I break down a question I get a lot. What would you do if you just had to restart from nothing and you had to grow the business again, starting from zero basically? So I'm going to break this whole thing down from you in a couple levels here. If you think of an x-axis, right, you're going to look at systems and marketing. So what are the systems and marketing I would do starting out to where we are now? And then what kind of delegation or hires would I make? One thing I'm gonna add here at the bottom, things I would study or learn, right? Key concepts to grasp on the education piece. I kind of want to look at this from two perspectives. You have the salesperson or the entrepreneur, maybe person that's back against the wall that doesn't have a lot of money. And then I think there's also a lot of people that maybe they are working a job and they don't have the time. So they might have the capital, but they don't have the time. And that's kind of where you have to decide what your goal is, right? So this is where systems and marketing and delegation and hires comes into place, because if you're trying to actively get wholesale deals, there's nothing easy about it, right? The concept is easy, but it does take time. And if you haven't been in sales before, you should quickly realize that it takes a lot of contacts to get a deal and a lot of follow-up, which means you're trying to start your own business, but you're one person. And if you don't operate like a business, you're going to get burnt out and you're not going to do a lot of deals. And this is where systems and marketing comes into place. But that first initial deal is the most important thing to just kind of brute force your way in there, right? And it's not like that's a problem, because if you don't learn how to do the deals, how to negotiate, how to find buyers, like these things that you should understand, like how to underwrite a deal and what do I actually offer. If you don't go through that kind of brute force thing at the beginning, you're not really going to understand the business anyway. So that's the part that takes a lot of people several months even to get a deal, is because they're trying to figure all this out on their own. And really deal number one is the first thing. After that, obviously these are potential big paydays for wholesale deals or anything in real estate, flipping it. If you look at systems and marketing, we're looking at deals per year at the top here on the on this axis, right? And then systems and marketing and then delegation and hire. So if I'm 0 deals, right? 0 to 1 deals, and I want to get just like the free way to get started. So you might be, not willing to spend, or you have the time on the weekend and you want to go free. The best way is simply door knocking or driving for dollars. Like, doesn't cost you almost anything. So I'm going to be on the doors. This is either pre-foreclosure. So I'm going to put PFC. And those are high intent. So this is for me, like, they have to do something in the next 30, 60, 90 days. Depends on the state you're in. But overall, if they're about to lose their house to the bank, they're the most motivated you could possibly have, but also anyone can, kind of reach out to them. So there's a low barrier to entry, but if you're consistent, you make a friend, you can get a deal. So knocking pre-foreclosure doors, super good strategy getting started. This is what I did for like 2 months straight to get my first 4 deals. So if you guys want to see like the script and pitch and all that, you guys can see that in our wholesale group as well as in the REI Closers community. But while I'm out there, I'm going to leave driving for dollars. I'm going to call that DFD. So driving for dollars or notes. So I'm going to put simply a handwritten note. Like, I did this last week in a North Dallas neighborhood I wanted to find a homestead at. I was just running through the neighborhood getting exercise, and I got 15 notes, and I just said, hey, give me a call, Ben, and put my phone number. And I leave it super vague just because I want them to call me. And it's any distressed property. It's not just a house I see, right? I want to make sure it's run down. And once they call me, I like to at least build some rapport, say I'm running through the neighborhood, I'm local, and I'm actually looking for a house to buy. I don't always write it out because it takes too long sometimes, and that may deter them from calling me. I'd rather just build a rapport on the phone and see what their plan is. But you could also just print off a bunch of them. Hey, I'm looking to buy a house in this neighborhood cash, and that can make it super easy. You can just print them off and then leave them on the doors. I just like put it in between the door crack. But free, those are the 2 best ways to just free get a deal, right? It takes time. I would say for door knocking, pre-foreclosures for us, it's about 110 doors to get a contract, but we're also very skilled. We understand the pitch and we overcome objections. We have all the marketing in place to follow up. So for an average person, it might be double, triple that. So you could expect 300 pre-foreclosure door knocks to actually get a contract, and that's understanding how to pitch it and probably leveraging someone else to close. So when I'm looking at deals per year and I'm brand new, I'm 0 to 1, you got to get into some sort of community, whether it's real estate meetups, those are free, right? YouTube, Discords, our free school group. If you have the money, I always recommend investing in some sort of community, things like REI closers, or you could go into, again, go to your local RIAs or whatever you can do. Once you can invest, you should, if you're serious about doing a deal, because I don't know many people that are successful in this business that haven't invested. So whether that's before you even start or it's after you get a deal, you should probably invest in some sort of, coach or community. When I look at delegations or hires on 0 to 1 deals, this should really just be like closing and Dispo. So basically a full, you're basically bird dogging, right? So it's more of a delegation, right? It's not a hire. So closing, and I'm gonna put a checkbox right here. Dispo, I'm gonna put a checkbox as well. So what that means is I probably don't know how to close the deal. I may not understand the market or how to underwrite it, and I probably don't have the connections to find a buyer. I'm not so worried about build my buyers list super big or, master the close. I should be learning those things on YouTube in these, free resources I have, but I still leveraged someone in my network, a mentor of mine, to close my first deal and find the buyer for the first 2 deals. So that's a huge resource. Really what you need to find when you're brand new is just find a motivated seller. Someone that has to get rid of their house quick, that's in some sort of distress. If you have that, someone that knows how to close is gonna be able to contract the deal, and if you have a good deal, selling it is not hard. The biggest thing when you're starting is finding a motivated seller. I would recommend Freeway, again, on the doors, or Driving for Dollars, Preforeclosures, High Intent. If you want pre-foreclosure lists, you can go your county pre-foreclosure notices, or go to Prop USA, and it literally scrapes the county site the moment leads are added and it puts it in your email. So the quicker you can get to those pre-foreclosures is important. It's not something you can just go on PropStream and, or Deal Machine, these big data sources that are good for other things, but pre-foreclosures are so outdated, it's not, beneficial to hit someone that's been on the list for 30, 40, 60 days. Again, Prop USA is great for that. That's what we use. And then Driving for Dollar notes that I'm leaving on doors. So Freeway, find a motivated seller, connect with someone to close and dispo the deal. Boom, you could have a $20,000 check in hypothetically a month, right? If you run into the right people and you just make enough contacts. So that's the first thing, 0 to 1 deals. And then at this point, you should have a little bit of a network. You should hopefully be understanding these things at the top, as I'm gonna put this up here, but education. The biggest things I wish I started to understand is just underwriting, right? So like comping a deal, what does that mean? Is just, what are houses worth? What is the ARV? I want to understand my market wherever I'm targeting. What are the after repair values of houses? If you're in like Texas, it might be hard. You got to talk with agents, but other states, you go on Zillow. What are other houses that are that size, square footage? What are they selling for in fixed up condition? You can also see what some are selling for as is, because that's what we're going to use to calculate our cash offer, right? Or any offer. So ARV times, these formulas are in our school group, but generally speaking, we do about 70% minus repairs. You can get into some more nuanced strategies if you're really trying to nail it down, but overall, get good at underwriting, watch your YouTube videos, get your education down, and then it's everything for sales. If you're not in sales, you should be going through sales training. Even though you're the one buying a house, it's all sales and marketing, being able to ask the right questions and really just overcome objections and build trust with someone. The faster you can build trust, the quicker you're going to get deals, because people trust you and they want to work with you, right? So those are the first things, the most important. We're at 0 to 1 deals. Hopefully at this point, you can repeat this process to have too many leads in your system. So if you're someone that was maybe don't have the time, right? I don't want to go knock a million doors or leave notes, and you have some money, then there's some easy things you got to do as a groundwork for a foundation to start a business, right? Is setting up a CRM. So that's what we help people with, an REI closure system, everything that we have refined for the last 3 years in our business, the automations, the sites, the verification, so you can text and call people, all of it housed in one spot. Like when I was first starting, I was texting people on my personal phone, saving their contacts, putting stuff in my note sheet, using Google Sheets. It was a complete mess. And that's when I realized I need a system. And it was really just copying and pasting someone that had done it before me. And I realized for me, it was when I just got so overwhelmed. I was forgetting to follow up. Like I had people's phone numbers from, knocking for a month straight. I had like 250 leads stored in my phone, but I'd never remember to reach out. I would just one Sunday trying to text all of them, right? So if you're getting to that point, or if you maybe are working a 9-to-5 job, you don't have the time, you should be getting a CRM system. And this should be something that's one spot, like one-stop shop, that saves you hours and hours of time and really months of all the systems and automations that people are already using in their business. It's not a reinvent the wheel thing for wholesale, right? You're contacting leads, you're following up with them. There's different pipelines, sending contracts. You're calling leads, texting them. All that stuff can be built into one spot. So this is something that I got set up. It was 2 deals in, and I didn't know. I probably would have set it up sooner if I knew, but it was after, door knocking. It was all I originally knew. So after I got too busy with that, I set up a CRM, and that way I could have things working in the background, even if I was knocking doors. So this is something that is pretty minimal. You need to have this at 1 to 5 deals, and really even before then, if you have the money, because you can start to put automations in place and have leads coming in to even help set leads for someone else that may be closing your dispo. But CRM can be anywhere from, this isn't Google Sheets and connecting like 5 different things through Podio and Zapier and some of these engineering minds that want to go crazy and build this whole system, right? You already have someone that you can just copy and paste from, and it's probably all in one spot and designed for this business. So just do that. So CRM, I would definitely say 1 to 5 deals. What we're going to look at is when you are 1 to 5 deals in, now that you have the pipelines going, the automations, right? These leads are getting followed up with, they're in the right stages. You can send contracts without having to, stop for an hour and try and draft it up. All those things that are not money-making activities, you should be writing down, and that's what you should really go to delegate and hire next. So I don't expect people, especially as a one-man show, to really hire anyone when you're, anywhere from like 10 deals or less a year. But you can be delegating things like, getting someone to help find a buyer. Like my first year in wholesale, I never did any of the Dispo stuff. I really never tried to build a buyer's list. I said, I'm going to find as many motivated sellers, try and get them under contract, and I will pay someone 30% to just find all my buyers. And that's what I did. And there's plenty of people that will do that. We'll do that with you. We have huge buyers lists. There's other people in your market that if you have a good deal, will gladly partner with you, 30, 50, 60%, depends where you are, to go find your buyer. And that can leave you focusing to get more deals. Don't try and do everything yourself. If you know you can get 50 or 30 or 40% of some deal, that's better than 0% of, no deal. So closing in Dispo, really you just got to figure out what your strong suit is. But don't be afraid to partner with people and continue to leverage, other people's skills, because really all it comes down to is sales and marketing, which is lead generation and closing deals. The rest of it is pipeline management and, scaling. So as we get to this part, you have the CRM, you're starting to get things automated through the tools in the CRM, and I'm at 1 to 5 deals a year. Now I'm like, okay, I got some capital in the bank, probably, a good amount of money. If you've closed 5+ deals, you should start to look at what can I reinvest in to really scale in lead generation. And those are things like we have SMS and cold call. I'm kind of putting those together, and I can talk about that a little bit because I know the laws are getting finicky on that. What are the KPIs during all this, right? So we talked a little bit about pre-foreclosures. That was the main thing I hit on. 300 doors I would expect as I'm brand new. Driving for dollar notes, I would expect to leave 200+ notes before you get a deal, and that deal might not come right away, right? That might come from follow-up, but it takes a good amount, 200 to probably 300 to 400 notes, right? So that's where having a CRM beforehand can be good too, because if that phone number is in your CRM, now those calls that come in can be saved and you can be following up with them, without having to do all the manual work. Overall KPIs, now that I have a system in place, and people are kind of asked, like, where should I spend my time? That's the hardest part when you're brand new. Should I do networking? Should I do this? Networking is great. Go find the people you need to really get help closing your deals and finding the buyers, and have the confidence to push a deal across the finish line. That's what you should get out of networking, is how can I push a deal across the finish line if I run into something. And the rest of it should be money-making activities, which is really talking to sellers, making offers, finding motivated sellers. And if you're not finding motivated sellers, you're not gonna get a deal. All this other stuff that you're trying to piece together in the background, getting your business card set up, your site, all that, doesn't really matter if you can't talk to motivated sellers. So once you get and decide on your marketing channel, find motivated sellers. Now we're going to look at, right, we have the CRM set up. We're going to look at SMS and cold call. Some of this can be like part manual. So I'm going to say like kind of manual here. These are a little bit automated, but things that aren't AI, right? So once we get into a manual, this will be like anywhere from probably like 150 to like 250 a month, depending on how many texts you're sending. So it should take about 7,000 to 8,000 texts for us to get a deal. And that's just like off market texting people that are absentee owners or probate or whatever it is. Cold calling, pretty similar, like takes a lot of follow up, 7,000 to 10,000 cold calls. So using a 3-line dialer is something that you can do. So when we get into SMS and cold call, we have more of the manual version, and then the automated or AI / like a virtual assistant. For us, AI has pretty much replaced virtual assistants, especially in the REI Closer system. We built it out for pre-foreclosures as well as just any off-market wholesale, qualifying the leads on text, booking it on our calendar. These types of things are going to cost you anywhere from like, $300 to even $1,000 a month, depending on if you're hiring a bunch of VAs. That's why we like AI. It's cheaper. It's more effective often, unless you have a stud VA that you've trained. They can be great, right? They can even close deals, but you just have to be able to train them. So it's another thing to look at. 5 to 10 deals, you should be getting into some sort of SMS cold call, right? You got to have some system. You got to have a CRM. And really at that point, I've probably made enough money that I should be focusing on money-making activities, which is talking to the motivated sellers. And I'd want to have some AI or VA in place to start qualifying leads, right? This could even be at 1 to 5 deals. Like if I'm comfortable, paying $300 to $600 a month to know that I can generate one deal that's going to make me 5, 10, 15, 60 grand, you could very well be hiring a AI or VA in your system. For me, it was like 2 deals in where I got my CRM set up and I immediately hired a VA to be cold calling the entire time I was knocking doors. And there wasn't really AI whenever I started that, but I would have done the same thing, just replace it with AI, because I knew if I can be knocking doors, talking to sellers, and someone can be qualifying leads and booking them on my calendar while I'm on the doors, now I have 2 marketing channels, and the whole time I can just focus on talking to motivated sellers. So I'm not worried about setting appointments. I'm not worried about sifting through all these text messages, right? So that's something you should be looking at. And that right there is like the core of pretty much like wholesale marketing, right? Where you're doing the outreach and you're really just trying to get motivated sellers in the door. You're probably anywhere from 10 or less deals a year, and you have a system in place and you're starting to look at things to delegate. At this point, hopefully, if I'm doing like 10 to 20 deals a year, I might start looking at bringing someone in-house to Dispo. So I'm actually going to, one thing that I really want to put on here is a transaction coordinator, so TC. This is something I didn't talk about a ton, but for me, this is about probably 5 to 10 to 10 to 20 deals, or anywhere in this mark. You should look at a TC because it's something you can do very easily without having to hire someone full-time, right? There's people that'll just handle your transaction without having to hire someone, right? They'll just get paid when they close. So you might have to pay a little up front sometimes, unless you find someone. It could be your sister, your mom, whoever. If they can handle the paperwork back and forth with the seller and the title company, that's really what you need, and you can pay them when the deal closes. So TC is big because if you're doing all this marketing and you're just stop marketing because you got to get the deal across the finish line, that you have under contract, you can't stop marketing or else you have no more deals in the pipeline. So the job of a TC is really just freeing up your time so you don't have to sit there and look at emails, call the seller back again so they can get an amendment over, make sure that the buyer's getting connected, all these things that probably take hours and hours of your week. This was me about 5 to 20 deals a year. I was just spending so much time focusing on getting these deals across the finish line that I would justify okay, I'm not going to go knock, or I'm not going to call people today because I'm just going to focus on getting this 30 grand deal to the finish line, which is important. That's really important. But if you have someone that's trained or used to doing something like that better than you are, then you don't have to like stop all of your marketing, because the money you're making today is a result of what you did 60, 90 days ago. So don't stop your pipeline and use a transaction coordinator. I really recommend this. The moment you become really just overwhelmed on 2+ deals under contract, like it might be 2 to 5, and for you it might be like 1, honestly. It just depends where you're at. But I'd say once you have a couple in the pipeline that are under contract and you need help getting it across the finish line, don't be wasting your money-making activity and time trying to just work existing deals, and at least don't let that stop your marketing. You should probably have either investor lift for Dispo or a Dispo person on your team. This could be pretty basic, someone that you'll either pay a percentage of still, or you could bring in-house. If you want to start scaling it more, hopefully you're closing your own deals. And if you want to go to 25+, this is where we're going to start to look at like, what does it look like to scale and hires?
If you're still struggling with closing at this point, like, what do you think you need to learn? Some people, you might say, a $30,000 deal, and they're like, no, my deals are like $5,000 to $10,000 deals. I'm not getting that. Like, what are they doing wrong if they're struggling with closing and their deals aren't looking like that?
Yeah, I mean, the market's always different too. Like right now it's a little bit thinner deals, but at the same time, like some of our deals are massive because we go direct to the pain. Like pre-foreclosures, for example, are some of the biggest deals. They might fall through at a higher rate. Like the contracts don't always close because there's crazy situations, but they're massive deals. So a lot of it's negotiating and sales and just building trust with the homeowner. So I would say get in these groups, get in sales trainings, like leverage someone else though. If you aren't a salesperson and that's not like a sales bone in your body, again, 50% of a deal or 30% of a deal is better than 0% of nothing. So if you have a hot lead and you're struggling, partner with people. That could literally be like, what you do until maybe if you're trying to run this a full-time business, you could hire a great salesperson, right? If you're great at leads and systems and marketing, you can find someone that says, hey, I'm going to get you this amount of deals or leads per week, and you're going to close it and get 10, 15% or put them on a plan, right? That's what I know guys that have absolutely crushed it in wholesaling and have literally like been on a seller phone call only a handful of times. And they're just not salespeople, but they're great at operating a business, which is the lead generation, the marketing, and the operations on the back end. So
at 1 to 2 deals, would you be doing everything? Would you be door knocking, leaving notes, cold calling, and sending texts, or would you be like selectively focused on one?
Yeah, I would focus on what you can afford basically. So like I said, if you're the person that's back into one, you need to go free, just focus on the door knocking and the driving for dollars, right? But if you have some money, and like for me, I had some capital, so I'm like, I knew how to door knock, but there was no reason for me not to set up a system and have some virtual assistant calling, and now it would be AI, but like there was no reason for me not to do that because the $300 a month was something that was like I didn't even think about, right? Even $1,000 a month at the time I was willing to do to go get a deal because I was willing to wait 3 to 4 months to be like, okay, this might take a little bit of a ramp up period, but I can see the ROI if I can get one of these across the finish line and I'm focused on it.
Is your software stack kind of like, you got Deal Machine, you had the CRM, were you just pulling leads?
Yeah, I was pulling leads from, there's like a bulk data source for pre-foreclosure, which I realized was not that great. I still got a handful of deals off it if you're consistent. Then I started going directly to the county. We hired a virtual assistant to scrape it. And then that's when we eventually built PropBot, and it automatically puts it into our email. So way faster. And my stack was just, Deal Machine, any off-market data on the doors, and even building a list to put in our CRM that's, not pre-foreclosure data. If it's like any other data that I'm exporting for absentee owner, vacant land, whatever it is from Deal Machine. So pretty much CRM, Deal Machine, PropBot, or pre-foreclosure data, and then really just networking, telling people I can close deals. For me, if you can close, that's where networking and social media and different things.
Talk a bit more about that. Like if you are a closer, like the opportunity that if you get in the network to just close people's deals, like how important that is.
Oh yeah, like for me, year one, I think I did 31, 32 deals, something like that. And I'd say like 8 of them came from my own marketing, which is crazy because I realized I was good at closing. So I focused on the money-making activity, which is closing. So I talked about in the networks I was in, which luckily I had invested in groups, and I was around all these people that needed help closing deals. They were in a similar spot as me. They were new, or maybe they'd been in there a while and they didn't know how to negotiate. So I would just say, hey, I just closed this deal. I can also close your deal and I'll partner with you. And I just always was posting it, putting it on my story, putting it in the group, next win, giving it to the sales guys in my network. Anyone I knew, I told them I was a real estate investor. I can actually help close your deal. I'll split the profit. And now my phone was just ringing. So a lot of my leads, it wasn't even very organized, but a lot of my leads was, okay, I can close your deal. Here you go, here you go, here you go. And that gave me the capital to start, okay, how can I actually run this like a business so I'm not just, my phone just blowing up 24/7 with, kind of all over the place leads. But yeah, if you can close, leverage that. And that's where networking is huge. Network when you can, and then do the money-making activities every other time. So
for those people who cannot close their deals and need help, we can close your deals for you. JP link in the description.
Yes, we do that all the time, and that's the power of a network. We love, that's really everything is like, what do people ask that, like, what do we have to gain from whatever, wholesale group, our school group, RA closers? At the end of the day, it's all like, the more people we can connect with, the more deals everyone gets to do. So that's the overall goal with this, and it's more fun to get someone else their first deal than it is to just get another one of our deals. It's great, that's our business, but it is really fun to help other people. The biggest value that you can have though is actually bringing a motivated lead, right? Understand what a lead is before you start to spend a lot of time with someone that is very busy, right? Like if you go to a networking event or you reach out to us for the JV form, don't send a lead that's you haven't even spoke to, they don't even know if they're motivated to sell, it's on the market. That's a waste of time. So if you find someone that said, hey, I need to sell because I inherited my house and I don't know what to do, that's a great lead to connect with, because we can probably negotiate something and make it work. And if we don't, that's just sales, right? So hopefully that answered the question, but the stack is always like a data source. So like Deal Machine, if you get niche data like pre-foreclosures, we're going to PropBot, and then some sort of CRM. You gotta have a system. Like I said, with REI closers, we have all that built into one spot. So we're calling, texting, leaving notes, following up, emails, sending contracts, all of that in one spot. AI is qualifying and booking appointments on our calendar. We have our landing pages in there for these next things I'll get into where we're running ads. But if I'm at 25 deals plus, I'd say even 10 to 20 deals, if you have like 50 grand in the bank saved up, right, for marketing, I need TC, Dispo. I'm hopefully closing deals, but now we need this right here. So we're gonna look at ads.
I feel like there's like a little small pocket here where people get stuck. I've talked to a lot of wholesalers and like, I want to get to doing five deals a month, but I'm stuck at 1 to 2 to 3 maybe, and it's the consistency's kind of here or there. Why do you think wholesalers get stuck in this place?
At like 1 to 2 deals? Mm-hmm. A lot of it is follow-up and like, which just comes down to consistency, right? I mean, it comes to a point where if you're not making enough contacts, if you don't track your KPIs, and I know we kind of went back and forth on KPIs, if you don't know how many people you're contacting, how many offers you're making, it's very hard to go above 1 to 2 deals if you're, say, only contacting a couple thousand people a month. So you got to really ramp it up in one way or another. And at that point, it just becomes, more money in, more money out. It doesn't have to be crazy. I don't ever recommend having a super high budget. But if you know right now you're texting 3,000 leads a day or whatever, a month in some market, and you're getting 1 deal a month, like either open up another market or start sending 2-3 times that amount of leads until you can figure out what the KPIs are to get another deal contracted. So it really comes down to KPIs. That's what removes emotions from the business. And if you can't level up the marketing, you're not going to increase the deal flow magically, right? It's not just going to happen because now you know how to close a little better. That might get 1 or 2 deals here and there, right? But like, you got to have more inputs to get the outputs. And that's where usually ads comes into place, is like, okay, I'm spending like $600 a month in marketing, but like I'm only getting 1 deal a month or whatever it is. And like, I want to take a little bit more risk. I want to get those inbound higher quality leads. And this shouldn't happen until you have all these systems in place. Like, I would never pay for ads unless I knew exactly where these leads are going, who's getting on the phone with them, can I close them, do I know what to offer cash creatively? Can I do a subject to or novation, right? If I can't do these exit strategies, there's some of these deals that are just slipping through the cracks and you're letting some money just run down the drain. So I gotta understand my systems. This is why it really just comes down to hopefully doing enough deals, but also the education at that point should be there. And this is when I can start with like Facebook. Honestly, we've ran Google and Facebook. I love Facebook right now because I can get pretty high intent leads, not like Google, right? They're not searching, can I sell my house? But I can tailor ads correctly to build trust, show seller testimonies, bring them to our page, and really have a high intent lead that needs to sell at a lower cost than what you would with Google. Google's good because it's high intent, but it does cost more. So ads though, they should be at 25 plus deals, or really if you just know all your systems, you can close deals, dispo them, and get them pushed through the pipeline with a TC. But I gotta have like at least 50 grand, I'd say, in the bank saved up, because expect to run marketing or ads for 3 months before really even getting a deal contracted sometimes, right? So like the cash conversion cycle, if I get a deal contracted, it might take 30, 45 days to get it closed. So if you're good, you should be contracting a deal month 1 or 2, but if it's month 3 and you're closing on it month 4, that's 4 months of marketing spend to really start getting it ramped up. So I got to have that in mind before I turn it off, before I freak out. And if you don't have the systems in place, then you're, again, just burning it.
Nate's video just came out about how he's doing SEO and social. Would you recommend that at all if you're at like this level, or like trying creative marketing?
Yeah, I think if you can get creative in today's world, like this is basically like the wholesale, like holy grail, right, of marketing and sales. But when you get creative, things we're doing now that I've started to implement kind of in pieces here, and then people that we set up with an REI closure system is like, how do I build trust more, and how do I increase my odds through these marketing strategies that no one else is doing? So for us, like if you watch Nate's, it's social media. He was really good at organic social media. So he's like, okay, if I can just make a page for, Dallas Homes for Cash and just really target people. Some people might hate that. They would never even want to do that. You could do they wouldn't think about it. But some people are like, oh yeah, I'll do that. I'll post consistently, and I don't care to like generate a lead right now, right? This is like planting a seed for the long-term growth. And for him, there's no deals that first 5 months, no KPIs he can really track other than like, I'm going to continue posting. And one of these hits, he gets 1 million, views on a thing. And now he starts getting followers from all these people that may need to sell their house, right? So like organic social media, SEO is great, which is just building your website and starting to optimize things to get leads in. But this is more things like you can kind of control. I would recommend like spending time on those things almost in the off hours, right? So like if you're a 9-to-5er and you don't want to spend on anything, right? That could be a free resource that you do if you enjoy it. But you got to pick like, what is it that I want to do? Because you're either targeting motivation to get a motivated seller, or SEO or social media is really just like have them come to me for free. People that don't come from sales don't have that same like awareness. Is we talk about that at the end of the day. I'd knock all day from 9 to 9 selling alarms or solar, and it's like, shoot, I only got 1 deal, or I got no deals. And I look back at my canvassing app, super basic, but like, how many doors did I knock? Well, I got stuck in a house for an hour and a half that didn't sell, and then I only talked to 6 people. It's like, well, yeah, no crap, I didn't sell a deal, but it's like, now tomorrow I got to catch up and hit. It's literally a law of averages. Like I got to hit enough people to where now I'm going to get a deal. So it removes the emotion where it's like, you can't really get mad if you've only talked to 50 people. Even if you're on the phone or you've talked to 50 people on text, like that's just not going to get you a deal. Someone's not going to give up their house at half the value for, like one conversation even. So that's where follow-up automations, like the law of averages is so real. And hopefully this is just eye-opening to people that are new or scaling. Is like, the reality is that like you can't get someone to make probably one of the biggest life decisions in one phone call. That's why you need follow-up in a system. And let alone like, you're not going to convince everyone to do it. So you got to make a lot of contacts and find people at the right time. At 25 plus deals, I would say like it could even be less, but with those requirements, if I can take a deal from start to finish without me spending all of my time on every aspect, right? Closing, dispo, TC. If I have some of that delegated, I can close with confidence. I have money in the bank. I would start ads. You could even do this as a one-man team, right? Like I know people that run Facebook ads well. They get on it ASAP, and they just take it across the finish line, they maybe have a TC or help Dispo, but you can even do that as a one-man show. But really at that point, if you're trying to scale past 25 plus, that's where you got to bring in like, lead manager, which a lot of times AI can replace now too, acquisitions, which is like a closer, and in-house Dispo. So like someone to sell all your deals, right? You have 5+ deals moving at a time or in the pipeline. You got to have someone that's working to find those buyers and actively calling, right? It's great to post things on Investor Lift, but like, what are the niche, buyers that might be looking for a rental or looking for X amount of, whatever the different areas call for different buyers, and you got to have someone that's working to get the highest price, negotiating that, and getting a commission on it. So for us, that was really me. I closed. I had someone Dispo for the first year. I hired a transaction coordinator after about 5 to 10 deals that paid at the end. And I bounced around multiple times. Like finding a transaction coordinator was hard for me because I wanted to find someone that could just handle all of them, get paid at closing. And really it came down to just creating a whole SOP of here's the steps I want you to take, send the contract to title, follow up with the seller and the title company every X amount of days, and send in your, whatever your wire once it closes to the title company. So that's how I do it. Now we have someone that, Amy is amazing, handles all of our transactions. So she's on our team. But
were you proactively like, I am going to hire a transaction coordinator and a Dispo person, or did something break and you learned a lesson and then you did that?
A little bit of both. You get overwhelmed when you have, like, for me, it was like I had 3 to 7 deals under contract, and I'm like, dude, I don't even feel comfortable going out and, knocking or anything because I have no idea if these are going to close. I don't know what the status of these deals are. And then, one falls through. You don't have a payoff order on time for a foreclosure that's closing in 3 days. And you're like, dude, I'm going to have to scramble to postpone this foreclosure because I don't have a document that I need to even close on this. So if you don't have, that communication with the buyer, the seller, the title company, you can't get paid, right? It's really important to get across the finish line. So, it was something I actively seeked out once I realized that was a bottleneck. Dispo, eventually bringing that in-house too. Armando's great. We always can help move your deals. If you guys need a buyer, again, those JV forms are in the...
Are we at like 5 deals?
Right. Well, I said 25 plus deals a year. So basically it's anywhere from like 2 to 3 deals plus a month.
2 to 3 deals plus. So at this point, where would you start spending this money at this point now? What are you even investing into?
I kind of wish, and we talk a lot about, everyone gets started in real estate to try and buy and hold and be a landlord and make the long-term wealth, which is great. I only would buy, if I could go back, I would only buy for the tax benefits and only buy enough to depreciate my income. So if you're a real estate professional and you made $250,000 after all expenses, marketing, everything, maybe I need to write off $100,000. So if I could buy 1 rental that year, maybe I'd buy and hold 1 of those or 2. But just buying deals to buy deals, I would say, will be your biggest expense. Houses break, repairs, maintenance, it's going to distract you from what actually makes you money. And it's not bad, right? Like if you have a great deal, you can use other people's money, do it. That's what I did. But again, I still will say I bought 5 houses in like 5 months one time, and it just became a headache on slowing down my wholesale business, the stuff that was making me more money. Repairs and maintenance come up, and it's just like a $10,000 check every 4 weeks. Or stuff starts to get hot in Texas, or a storm hits, you're literally just like can't sleep at night because you're waiting for like 3 AC payments to hit your account. So be smart. If you're making a lot of money, real estate is the greatest way to depreciate against taxes. You can keep all that. You can have an appreciating asset that's worth way more. Like buy right? And try and connect or partner with people, use other people's money, take over low interest rates. Like all of our deals, we have crazy deals on, but even though the deal might look crazy sometimes, it's still going to cost you money. And for me, if I'm willing to pay that out and wait for the long haul, it's all for taxes and long-term wealth whenever it appreciates, but really focus on the money-making activities and buy when you need it for the tax benefits.
Probably after like deal like 20, you start trying to lean into like more creative exit strategies. When should you really be focused on learning those exit strategies so you don't miss out on deals?
If you're in this business or you've done a couple of deals, it's pretty easy to get your head big. Like I made $30,000, get complacent, stop marketing. Like that. You don't have a weekly paycheck, so I would just continue to market it. But like be learning, because I probably missed out on so much money from two things my first year. One, not understanding novations, and two, not flipping a couple houses actually. Like if I looked at some of these ones that were pretty minute repairs, I don't know if that's the right word, minimal repairs, and I just always like, okay, wholesale it, which for me, it kept me focused, but at the same time, it's like if I just closed on that one with private money and put it on the market, like I would have made an extra 40, 50, 60 grand than just trying to wholesale it, right? So like knowing a novation, meaning how could I leverage a deal maybe that they declined my cash offer and I could go, get an agreement to put it on the market and bring in a retail buyer and make even more money. So like those houses that are in decent shape, they're outdated, those ones that like I could have wholesaled on market as a novation, or I could have maybe wholetailed it or flipped it, are super lucrative strategies that like you just gotta be better underwriting, understanding the comps, and really learning that pitch.
Yeah, I have two things. So this one goes all the way back to the beginning. Another thing from yesterday, because before researching this video, I called up as many people that answer the phone, trying to see like what they're struggling with. But people that are at the 0 to 1, or like they've done a deal, they're trying to do more consistently. One of the things, they don't have the same concept of time as you. So like, whenever I'm like, how many calls would you make on a weekend? They're like, oh, I don't know how to make past like 40 calls. And I personally know that like you can make that in less than an hour. So like, what do you have to say about that? Like, how do you like, what you were in sales, so you already had that bug in you of like, I can't sit on a door for an hour and lose time. So
yeah, it comes back to like, what is the opportunity cost of everything? And it's super easy. Like someone gets talking to you that's not a buyer, or in this case, a seller, right? To just finally just have a conversation. But you could spend an hour with someone that you know is not even going to be motivated to sell. Like you're trying to convince them why their house isn't worth 500,000, that's 200. Like don't even stay on the phone with that person, you know what I mean? And the other part of it is calling 40 leads in an hour. Like if I could just have the right systems in place, that can I afford an extra $140 a month for a 3-line dialer where I can call 800 people in a day instead of 30 or 40. So like thinking of these things that and how we have in place, these automations, these systems are huge, because it's just like, what can I do? Is it worth doing a month's worth of work in a week?
basically.
Yeah. And then focus on the people that are actually worth your time. Like don't move on to the next lead if, you're sitting with someone.
I know we're not doing Google ads right now, but where would you, I know you got into it and then I think y'all stopped. I don't think y'all turned it back on. Is this something you would push off to like,
I would put it in the same target where I put the Facebook. I would probably start with Facebook, just because for us on the KPIs for Facebook, we're about like one in, honestly right now with this trust like funnel that we built, like about 18 to 20. I'd say more realistically, people are at like, if you have standard Facebook ad with no trust funnel, no site, no like seller testimonies, probably like 45. If you have a good one, you should be around like 25 or less. Google though can be as low as like 12 if you're really optimized, and you know how to do novation subject to cash, but more standard for Google would probably be like 18 to 20.
How many leads are people leaving on the table if they're not using a trust funnel?
I would say that's the biggest thing that we've implemented this year. And this can come back to like, even when you're doing SEO or any of it, like texting, we have a funnel and getting like inbound quality leads on texting, because we're piquing their curiosity. We're getting them to, opt in and say, hey, like I want to see what it looks like to sell off market. And then they see our seller testimonies, they get our email campaigns, they're getting, followed up with all the time. So like, you can build trust with someone is so big. The average wholesaler and mom and pop person is like, everyone's getting a cash offer text, they're getting a cash offer ad. Why is everyone buying ugly houses? Like, who is this? Versus, okay, I actually have like a handful of seller testimonies videos I got with people. And you could, you might have to fake it till you make it when you're new, or use a partner. But like the moment I get a deal, I'm like, that one day we just went out and got 5 videos with seller testimonies, and I still use it to this day. And we've gotten hundreds of deals, but like I should probably get more and more, because it's those things. When I'm on the phone with a seller now, whether it came from SMS, a pre-foreclosure is huge too, or even Facebook, they've seen a video of me, they've seen seller testimonies, they've seen our frequently asked questions, and it's like by the time I hop on with them, that is a night and day different conversation than the one that I cold called or cold texted, hey, you want to offer on your house?
Yeah. Trust funnel in the link in the description, check it out. But when you're getting to like the 2 to 3 plus deals a month, I asked you like where you spend your money. You talked about real estate. Is there anywhere in the business you would spend your money? Because if you're like, hey, I want to go do more deals a month, would you spend it? Like what?
Yeah, I would immediately get right now, again, good system with AI, qualify your leads. Don't spend time tracking all these text messages, booking, all those, following up, like that follow-up stuff. You should have all that automated from text, email, all of it, right? So AI and then ads, and then I would delegate.
Talk a little bit more about I don't think you talked a lot about the AI. What does that mean in
appointment setter? So like think of it like a virtual assistant. We used to hire someone to manage all of our leads. So when we import data, whether it's pre-foreclosure, they're getting texted, and once they get that initial text, if you don't have AI, it's someone's manually going through, responding to all that back and forth. You gotta be sitting on your CRM 24/7, right? Because you should be hitting a lot of leads. If it's like an off-market deal machine list, we're going through absentee owner or tax delinquent or some sort of like motivated list, and we're hitting them with another text, and we're building that through some trust to build them to our landing page. But like in general, if I have AI working now, it's answering those text messages, it's qualifying them, it's booking a call on our calendar. I don't have to be sitting on my CRM 24/7 to be like answering to people when I could just be on the phone whenever they're ready to talk.
Yeah. I think last thing you can wrap it up. How much more volume do people need to understand it takes when you get to the two to 3 deal realm of doing that many deals a month to go even more than that?
How much more volume?
Yeah.
I would say
because
it's probably delegating is another thing too, because it's very hard to go past 2 deals a month.
Yeah.
If you are doing everything.
Because what you just talked about, you started talking about some at like different lists. So now you're reaching outside of pre-foreclosure. So you're kind of getting into different, you're tackling multiple avatars of sellers now. And like, so do you need to go even broader in your marketing to do more than that many deals a month?
If it's working really well and you have some KPIs tracked, you either got to scale it more or hit a new market. So go to a different city or start it in another market, and you could keep the same marketing channel. But if you want to get a list that you understand, and you don't break what's not, don't fix what's not broken. But yeah, you can either do it in another market or hit your same market and just hit a new lead source. Thank you for tuning in to the REI Closers podcast. Hopefully this was super helpful. Just what would it take starting from ground zero, leveling up to 5, 10, 50, 20 plus deals a month. You guys want to see what it looks like to implement a system and start to scale, hit the links in the description. We have our free community as well as REI Closer system, where we literally give you all the tools, systems, automations that we run in our business, so you guys can just copy and paste and hit the ground running. So appreciate it. Tune in, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.